All right, let's really delve into this today. Welcome back to the deep dive. You know the drill. We sift through a pile of sources, pull out the key stuff, and hopefully give you that shortcut to feeling genuinely clued in. Today's deep dive is, it's both reflective and pretty profound, I think. We're looking back at the incredible life and career of Graham Greene, a man whose impact, well, it went way beyond just the movies. Our aim here is to kind of distill the essence of his journey, really understand the footprint he left, and honor his memory. We're drawing on a lot of recent tributes, some detailed biographical stuff. It paints a picture not just of an actor, but like a cultural force. And this isn't just going to be reciting facts. We want to explore the deeper meaning, especially his role as a real trailblazer.
Yeah, and what's interesting in the sources we've got, including a really insightful piece from Miami Nights Radio, is that it's not just a dry timeline. It's more a collection of really respectful, quite personal reflections on his, frankly, incredibly varied career. These sources give us a unique way to understand not just, the sad news of his passing recently, but the actual fabric of his character, his influence. It helps set, I think, a really reflective and heartfelt tone for this whole discussion. Our goal for you listening is to get a full picture of who Graham Greene was, not just the actor part, right, but him as a key cultural figure, a man of real integrity, a powerful voice that comes through consistently in all these accounts. So, yeah, expect some significant insights, some moments that really connect his personal story to bigger themes like breaking down barriers, the power of telling authentic stories, and this quiet resilience that seemed to define him.
So the news of Graham Greene's passing, it hit recently, and you could feel this real sense of loss across the industry and beyond, actually. September 1st, he was 73, passed away in Toronto. His agent, Michael Greene, confirmed it. No relation. We should probably clarify that again. But this announcement, it wasn't just like a formal thing. It had real weight, especially knowing he'd been battling long illness. Michael Greene's words, what he shared publicly, they were much more than just a professional statement, He described Graham as, and I'm quoting here, a great man of morals, ethics, and character, and will be eternally missed. Just think about that for a second. Your agent, someone who navigates that whole Hollywood maze with you, speaking about you in such personal, admiring terms, it immediately tells you something really fundamental about the man we're talking about today. It sets this deeply human, respectful tone right from the start before we even get into the incredible career.
It's so true. When an agent gives that kind of personal tribute, it almost always points to our relationships. That's deeper than just business deals. It speaks to trust, mutual respect, maybe even a real friendship built over years of working together in that demanding world. But the detail that really adds this poignant, deeply human layer is something specific Michael Greene shared. He said quite openly, "You are finally free. Susan Smith is meeting you at the gates of heaven." Now, Susan Smith, as the sources tell us, she was Graham's longtime agent before Michael. She passed back in 2013. So that specific sentiment, it's incredibly loaded. You are finally free. Well, that strongly suggests it was a long, tough illness, right? A sense of relief that the suffering was over. And mentioning Susan Smith, that points to this belief in, spiritual continuity or reunion. It just gives us this rare, really humanizing glimpse into his world, his relationships, maybe his own beliefs. For those closest, his passing wasn't just grief. It sounds like it was also a release, maybe framed by this beautiful idea of meeting an old friend again. So this first bit, it isn't just news. It's a really crucial, empathetic way into understanding the person Graham Greene was, laying that foundation of respect before we even touch on the amazing career.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what I found really striking digging into the sources about his journey was just how unconventional his path to Hollywood actually was. He was born June 22, 1952, in Oswego, right there on the Six Nations Reserve in southern Ontario, a place with so much history. But his early life, not a straight line to acting, not at all. Before he landed any roles that got noticed, he did this incredibly diverse range of things, hands-on stuff. The sources mention him working as a draftsman, needing precision, detail, then a civil technologist, maybe working on infrastructure projects, and even a steel worker. Think about the physicality, the endurance needed for that. But maybe the most surprising one on the list, he was a crew member for rock bands. Can you just picture that? The chaos, the problem-solving, the teamwork involved in touring. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How all these wildly different experiences, technical drawing, heavy labor, the rock and roll scene, how they must have shaped him, honed his resilience, gave him this unique kind of grounded perspective that he brought to his acting later on.
That's such a great point. And it immediately makes you ask, well, what's the real value of that kind of diverse non-actor background? It's often overlooked, I think. Think about the lessons in each role. Draftsman, you learn structure, visualizing things from plans. For an actor, maybe that translates to script analysis, understanding character arcs with precision. Steelworker, that raw physicality, the grit. It gives you this deep understanding of human effort, struggle, maybe even the unspoken language of the body. That's profound grounding. It lends this undeniable authenticity, right? Especially for roles needing strength or weariness, connection to working life. And the rock band crew thing, wow. Adaptability under pressure, reading a room's energy, being part of a team where everyone's crucial, even if unseen. All these real-world experiences, technical, physical, dynamic, they gave him this rich tapestry of human understanding. He wasn't just observing life, he was living it in different ways. It wasn't until the 70s that he really pursued theater seriously, first in Canada, then the UK. That stage training after all that life experience was key, and he stressed its importance himself. In a 2012 interview, he said, and I'm quoting directly, "The discipline of theater is what I recommend to all actors." That's not just a throwaway line. It shows his conviction in the rigor of theater training. Not just lines, but developing that deep commitment, emotional intelligence, the whole package. His whole journey kind of encourages you, listening, to think about how non-traditional paths can lead to richer, more grounded art. And how discipline, whether in drafting or on stage, is just vital for excellence anywhere.
Absolutely. And all that experience, that discipline, that grounding, it all eventually led to that pivotal moment, the one that really put Graham Greene on the global map. We're talking 1990. Kevin Costner casts him as Kickingbird, the wise, dignified Lakota medicine man in Dances with Wolves.
Brilliant casting in retrospect.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the film itself was just a phenomenon, wasn't it? Swept the Oscars, 12 nominations, 7 wins, including Best Picture. But even in that amazing ensemble, Graham Greene's part was absolutely essential. His Kickingbird wasn't just powerful. It had this quiet dignity, this wisdom, this unforgettable presence that just captivated everyone. So much so, it earned him that Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. And that wasn't just a personal win for him. It was genuinely historic. He became one of the very, very few Indigenous actors at that time to get that kind of recognition on a global stage. It broke through some serious barriers in Hollywood representation. His performance really stood up.
What's really fascinating there, beyond the film's massive success, is the huge cultural shift Dances with Wolves represented, and how Graham Greene's role as Kickingbird was so central to it. Before that movie, let's be honest, Indigenous characters in Hollywood were mostly, well, stereotypes, often demeaning ones. You had the noble savage, or the silent stoic type, or just the faceless aggressor, very one-dimensional. But Greene's Kickingbird just shattered those molds. Quietly but forcefully. He brought this profound depth, this gravitas, this authenticity to an Indigenous character that was incredibly rare, almost unprecedented, and desperately needed back then. It wasn't just acting, it was human representation, celebrating wisdom, tradition, spirituality, complex humanity. It was a counter-narrative to decades of caricature. And think about why it hit so hard. Audiences finally saw an Indigenous character not as a symbol, but as a fully realized person. Dignity, humor, sadness, connection to community, all of it. The ripple effect from his Oscar nomination was huge, bigger than just him. It didn't just open doors for him, it proved the viability of Indigenous talent and stories in Hollywood. Showed there was an audience, and the talent was there. It sent a message to the industry. Authentic portrayals work, critically and commercially. And connecting back, that theater discipline we talked about, you see it in Kickingbird. The gravitas, the stillness, that grounded authenticity, that training let him inhabit the role with this quiet power that just resonated worldwide. It really makes you reflect, doesn't it, on how one role, one performance can shift perceptions in a whole industry and leave a legacy that lasts for decades.
So yeah, considering that massive impact of Dances with Wolves and the Oscar nod, what did that mean for his career? Well, basically, the floodgates opened. It was the catalyst. Launched him into this incredibly busy, incredibly diverse career. Over 4 decades, nearly 200 credits. That kind of longevity is just wow.
Remarkable, really.
Right after that breakthrough, he started landing major roles. He was in Thunderheart with Val Kilmer, playing this really nuanced character in a modern mystery on a reservation. Then he's Joseph in Maverick, holding his own with Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster, showing his comedy chops in a Western. He even popped up in Die Hard with a Vengeance alongside Bruce Willis, showing he could fit into huge action movies.
Total genre hopping.
Exactly. And then The Green Mile with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Such an emotional, acclaimed drama. His portrayal of Arlen Bitterbuck really stayed with you. But it didn't stop there. He kept working constantly, right through the 2000s and beyond. You saw him bringing that gravity to the Twilight Saga. New Moon playing Harry Clearwater. He was in Aaron Sorkin's Molly's Game. Delivered a great performance in Taylor Sheridan's Wind River, which was pretty raw.
A really important film, Wind River.
For sure. And his TV work was just as massive. People know him from Northern Exposure, right? Such a beloved show. Also Longmire, American Gods, Defiance. The list goes on. More recently, Tulsa King, another Sheridan project, and significantly Reservation Dogs. We definitely need to talk more about that one.
Absolutely.
But here's something maybe fewer people know, which is fascinating. His talents went beyond the screen. He actually won a Grammy.
Yeah. That's amazing, isn't it?
In 2000 for Best Spoken Word Album for Children. For Sacred Pipe, an American Indian rite of passage.
Yeah.
That award says so much about his voice, his storytelling ability, his connection beyond just visual acting.
If we really look at that bigger picture, the sheer breadth and maybe more importantly, the consistency and longevity of his career, it just speaks volumes. Not just talent, but incredible versatility and honestly resilience. To keep working for over 4 decades, almost 200 credits in that industry, that takes extraordinary dedication and adaptability. He moves so easily between massive blockbusters and intense indie films, fantasy series, crime thrillers, and always delivered something memorable, authentic, nuanced. He was never really typecast. Even after Kicking Bird became so iconic, he could embody wisdom, toughness, spirituality, weariness, often with that subtle, dry humor that made his characters feel so real. And his work on Reservation Dogs specifically, that feels like such a significant full-circle moment. Appearing in that show, written, directed, starring Indigenous talent, it wasn't just another job. He was lending his talent, his gravitas, his recognition to support that new generation, actively supporting the very cause he championed his whole career. It was like passing the torch. Yeah, a powerful affirmation. And that Grammy win. It often gets overlooked, but it's so telling about how multi-talented he was. It shows his skills went way beyond acting for the camera, his vocal presence, his storytelling mastery, captivating an audience just with his voice. Winning a Grammy for spoken word implies this incredible control, pacing, emotional resonance. It shows his appeal across different media, even to kids. It just underscores how expansive his artistic contributions were. He was a master communicator, full stop. It makes you appreciate the dedication, the adaptability needed for that kind of sustained career, and how artists like him contribute in so many ways, shaping narratives, inspiring new creators.
Definitely. And beyond that Oscar nomination that really launched him, it's so clear when you look back, Graham Greene received this deep, widespread recognition throughout his career. These weren't just one-offs. They show this consistent level of excellence, a lasting impact recognized by peers and, importantly, national institutions. He got a Gemini Award that's like the Canadian Emmy, right?
Yeah.
For his TV work there.
Right, acknowledging his importance in Canadian productions.
Later, a Canadian Screen Award, which is broader. And he wasn't just mainstream. He got an Independent Spirit Award nomination, too. Shows respect in the indie film world.
Which is a different kind of validation, often more about the art itself.
Exactly. But maybe the most significant honors came from Canada itself, recognizing his huge cultural importance. He has a star on Canada's Walk of Fame. That's a lasting public honor. And in 2016, he was inducted into the Order of Canada. The sources call it one of the country's highest civilian honors.
That's massive. That's not an industry award. That's national recognition at the highest level.
It puts him among Canada's most distinguished citizens for his contributions. It means his work went beyond entertainment, becoming part of the national identity. And then, just earlier this year, which feels poignant now, he got the Governor-General's Performing Arts Award, Canada's highest honor in performing arts. Basically a Lifetime Achievement Award.
What's really striking there is the cumulative weight of all those different awards. It tells a bigger story than just individual great performances. It points to sustained, extraordinary excellence and a truly lasting impact, both in Canada and internationally. The Gemini and Canadian Screen Awards show his quality and connection to his home industry. The Spirit Award nom shows respect from the indie side. But those Canadian honors, the Order of Canada, the Governor-General's Award, they're exceptionally significant. They're national recognitions. They acknowledge his profound cultural contribution to Canada. He's seen as a national icon who enriched the country. The Order of Canada recognizes outstanding achievement, dedication, service to the nation, his work on representation, his powerful performances, opening doors. It fits perfectly. And the Governor-General's Award is the peak for performing arts excellence in Canada. It honors artists who've made an indelible mark over decades. For him, it recognized not just the acting, but his role as a cultural ambassador, a mentor, a trailblazer. So how do these awards paint the picture? They show consistent critical acclaim, public adoration, and official recognition from the highest levels. It illustrates a legacy built on talent, yes, but also on character, cultural significance, and commitment. It makes you think, how public recognition can actually be a vital sign of an artist's deep, enduring influence on culture and society.
Okay, let's really unpack what might be one of the most critical parts of Graham Greene's life.
Yeah.
His legacy as a trailblazer. Undeniable. He wasn't just an actor who happened to be Indigenous. He was a First Nations actor who actively broke down huge barriers in Hollywood. He carved out space, essential space for Indigenous voices, authentic stories in an industry that had historically just sidelined, misrepresented, or ignored them.
Erased them, often.
Yeah, erased them. And he didn't just wait for chances. He challenged the stereotypes. Through his work's authenticity, obviously, but sometimes with this incredible wit and resolve. I want to share that anecdote from the sources again because it's just so powerful. His audition for Crimson Tide, picture it, casting director, maybe the director, says something revealingly ignorant. But basically, he couldn't imagine a Native American working on a submarine.
Just wow. The assumptions baked into that.
Right? A snapshot of the mindset back then. But Graham Greene's response, unforgettable. A masterclass in quiet strength, truth, refusing to be invisible. He looks right at the director and says, perfectly timed. If you could, I would let you tell my 4 dead uncles who died in the Pacific on subs. Boom. Exactly.
Yeah.
Not just witty. It was personal, historical. It captured his intelligence, that dry wit, but also his unwavering strength, his dignity, his absolute refusal to be boxed in by stereotypes. And it reminded everyone there, and us now, of the real-world sacrifices and contributions of Indigenous people, contributions often just overlooked. A personal moment becomes political, delivered perfectly.
That Crimson Tide story is just so layered, and it really makes you ask, what does that exchange show? Not just the systemic bias in Hollywood then, but Graham Greene's own unwavering kind of quiet commitment to fighting it. It exposes those implicit assumptions, the limited imagination filmmakers had, projecting stereotypes onto whole communities, restricting roles. The director's comment was a microaggression and erasure. But Greene's response wasn't just clever, it was resistance, an assertion of truth. Invoking his uncle's sacrifice, that grounded it in irrefutable reality, Indigenous service, contribution. He just dismantled the director's narrow view with personal history, turned prejudice into a lesson. It shows this incredible courage in him, beyond the roles, speaking truth to power, even if it whisked the job. And his success afterward, especially post-Dances with Wolves, it had a real, tangible impact. It demonstrably paved the way for so many others to follow, as the sources say. His visibility, the dignity and nuance he brought, it chipped away at those biases. Showed Indigenous actors had immense talent, could carry roles, that their stories resonated, that there was this untapped wellspring. It gradually helped shift industry perceptions, opened up more opportunities on both sides of the camera, and connecting that to his later work, 1883, Tulsa King, but especially Reservation Dogs, you really see the full arc. Reservation Dogs being the seminal show, all Indigenous creators.
Groundbreaking.
Totally. His appearance there felt, as the source said, like such a fitting way to honor the new wave of Indigenous talent he helped inspire. It was an affirmation. The seeds he planted decades ago had bloomed into this vibrant, self-determined movement. He stood with them, symbolically passing that torch. It encourages you, the listener, to reflect on the courage it takes to challenge stereotypes, the unseen battles, and the long-term impact of individual actions on representation. The fight for authentic portrayals is ongoing, vital, intergenerational.
Amidst all the awards, the groundbreaking roles, the tireless work, it's really heartwarming to shift to the personal side of Graham Greene's life. What comes through clearly is that his public persona, that dignity, that strength, was really anchored in deeply cherished personal values and relationships. The sources consistently paint this lovely picture of his home life, especially his marriage to Hilary Lackmore. That relationship was just a cornerstone, 35 years together. That's incredible, especially in that industry. A testament to deep, resilient love.
Really says something.
It does. And together they built a family, their daughter, Lily, and later a grandson, Tarlo. This strong, loving unit clearly meant everything to him, gave him stability. In interviews, he often talks so sincerely about Hilary's impact. Said marrying her was the turning point that led to the best time of his life. Think about that. A man who achieved global fame, critical acclaim, points to his marriage, his family, as the peak. It speaks volumes about his priorities.
What's truly fascinating there is the significance of that unwavering family focus right in the middle of such a demanding, high-profile career. Hollywood can be tumultuous, isolating, often focused on glamour, superficiality. Yet he seems to have found this unshakable anchor, this sanctuary in Hilary and their family. This insight really complements our understanding of his professional life. It shows a man whose core values were rooted in relationships. Success wasn't just about fame or money. It was about building a rich, meaningful, fulfilled life. That grounding probably informed his authentic performances, his ability to stay true to himself in a sometimes fake industry. And you see that theme of cherished relationships running through everything, don't you? Back to his agent's emotional words.
Yeah, that connection with Susan Smith.
Right, and then this decades-long love for Hillary. It highlights a man who valued connection, loyalty, the quiet strength of family above almost everything. It really prompts you, the listener, to consider that balance between public success and private contentment. And how often, maybe, that strong personal foundation is the most valuable part of a truly rich life.
So, as we bring this deep dive into Graham Greene's extraordinary life to a close, it's just abundantly clear he leaves behind this multifaceted, indelible legacy. We remember him not just for those unforgettable, nuanced roles, but maybe even more for his huge impact on the cultural landscape. A legacy defined by, I think, resilience, dignity, and that groundbreaking work for authentic Indigenous representation. He once said theater gave him the tools to build characters, which shows his discipline, his dedication. But really, as we've explored today, he gave us so much more. Unforgettable characters, yes. Groundbreaking representation that opened doors, absolutely. And maybe most importantly, a powerful reminder of the sheer transformative power of authentic storytelling itself. While there's definitely this deep sense of loss with his passing, his contributions are this enduring testament to his spirit. They'll live on through his work and through the countless artists he inspired and the shifts he helped start.
Indeed. And his whole journey, it really does raise an important question for us all to carry forward, doesn't it? How does his story from those diverse early jobs, draftsman, steelworker, rock crew, right up to the Oscar nom and fighting stereotypes, how does it challenge our preconceptions about where talent comes from? What does a successful career path even look like? And what kind of quiet, profound resilience does it take to stay authentic under pressure, facing bias? His journey powerfully reminds us that brilliance often emerges from unexpected places, unconventional paths. It teaches us that real success often means pushing boundaries, challenging things, and that dignity, character, connection to your roots, that's as vital as raw talent, maybe more so. So I'd really encourage you, the listener, seek out his films, experience those powerful human performances, and beyond that, actively keep championing diverse voices, authentic stories, underrepresented creators in all media. By doing that, you're helping carry forward the torch he lit so bravely, so brilliantly. Graham Greene, thank you for your indelible mark, your work, your spirit. They'll absolutely live on.